Greetings, everyone. Hope your day was good. My name is Dr. Robert Mogo. I am an academician, a financial analyst, and a CPA. Today, I want us to continue with our series about borrowing. What is it that you need to know if you want to borrow from the mobile apps, if you want to borrow from M-Pesa and M-Shwari, and if you want to borrow from the banking apps? I'll start with the banking apps. Some of these banking apps are as good as borrowing from the financial institutions. We had looked at lessons on what you need to borrow from banks, so I will not dwell on so much on that. But a few of these banking apps require or lend you money as the traditional apps. So here they will look at what is your ability to pay. Like they will look at maybe your transactions, maybe basing on your particular bank, how have your transactions been conducted. And that one you may find they will tell you qualify to borrow this amount. These banking apps, some of them will charge you a one-off payment. Take for example, I want to borrow 100,000. There is a banking app that will tell me or demand I to pay 7.5%. That is the interest plus some processing fee, excise duty, and so on of 20%, which is 1.5%. They may deduct 9% upfront. So if I want to borrow 100,000, they may deduct 9,000. Then the remaining 100,000 I will pay within a month. If I want to borrow from the mobile apps, the mobile lending apps or the companies, I don't want to mention names here because of professionalism aspects. If you want to borrow from, let's say, company X, what is it that they need? Most of the times they will use your M-Pesa data. What has been your transactions history? And here they will look at what has been your cash flows, how have you been spending. Some may link this with your payment or your employment or your business, and they will lend you some as low as 10 days and others to a maximum of, let's say, 6 months. The interest rates here, basing on the mobile lending apps, could be based on a daily basis. It could be based on a weekly or a monthly basis. Most of them you find they will lend you from as low as 1,000 shillings, but most will not exceed 100,000. Every time you borrow, the first time you borrow, they will give you a lower borrowing limit. As you borrow, depending on your discipline or your payment discipline, let me use that word, depending on your payment discipline, they may keep on increasing the limit. If the last one I want to talk about is borrowing from M-Shwari and Fuliza. M-Shwari is an agreement between, or it's a cooperation between between NCBA Bank and M-Pesa. So this one they will lend you, and you will be given some amount basing on your transactions history. How has your M-Pesa been flowing? Most of the time, if you go to your M-Shwari, you will find you qualify to borrow this amount of money. If you borrow and pay, you can qualify for a higher amount. M-Pesa Fuliza, this is an overdraft facility from the bank, from the mobile company Safaricom. So this one, on default, everyone qualifies to have an M-Shwari, a Fuliza facility, but this Fuliza depends on the transactions that you do. So if I do on a month transactions worth 50,000, I cannot qualify to Fuliza 100,000. Another person who does transactions worth 1 million in a month qualifies for a big amount of Fuliza. So if I want to borrow from these apps, these mobile banking apps, what is it that I need to know? One, the disadvantage of all of these, they are quite expensive compared to the traditional borrowing platforms like banks, like SACCOs. So if you are to borrow from these, make sure that it is borrowing for short term. The longer you do, the more expensive it becomes. And here what I mean short term, there are some people who take a loan from this app, a duration of 1 month, you clear that loan, immediately you clear that loan, you take another loan from another app, and then it continues as a cycle. You find that a whole year, this person is just taking loan from this app, paying this, taking that. That one is not short term. That short term is, I need money for 1 week and I don't have anywhere I can get this money. That time you can borrow from these apps. Another reason that could make you borrow from these apps is if it's an emergency. It is at midnight, I need money to take my child to the hospital. I need money to attend to some very emergent issue. Where can I get this money? I cannot access my friends. That time you can take from this, you can Fuliza or you can take a loan from Mshwari, but make sure that you pay. A disadvantage of if you borrow from this, you get used to these borrowing apps, sometimes it becomes a habit. You enter into a vicious cycle where you have to keep on borrowing. And that one comes to sustaining your consumption using borrowing. That one, if you go to my previous lessons, it's something I would highly discourage. For today, I will stop at this. We shall continue with our financial literacy simplified lessons. Wish you well. You can go to my YouTube. You can go to my Instagram. You can go to Facebook and even X. Good evening.